Hello YouTube, this is Izzy Turfund from Nell's Good Morning Eorzea channel. Starting with the next part of my Let's Play. I actually made it to part 2. Will I make it to part 3? Okay, so let's continue on. And just make our way to the Jedi Temple. And I can't fault them for creating, uh, for creating a very nice atmospheric environment here. Now, I mean, I did notice with the Star Wars environments, these are not. This isn't as gorgeous as Final Fantasy 14, but this looks very much like sort of out of a Star Wars, out of a comic, I guess. It's got sort of it's got sort of that quality to it that not really cell shaded, but it's I don't know, but these kind of graphics will age very well. They also are not nearly as intensive as others are. So this really should. I think this game will last a good long while. It's done so well. It's done all right so far. So anyway, continuing on. We're gonna need some flesh raiders. I mean, that is the sort of the hypocrisy of a sort of role playing game is that you're the noble hero who's here to save the world and who has a body count that would make the world's most vicious serial killer blush. Go. Open that up. Okay. I don't really need to kill these guys. And so I'm going to shortcut this a bit. Rocket boots. One of my first cartel market purchases. I still stand by it. They're kind of frivolous, but they're fun. Okay. One of the things whatever game you go to, whenever you have a point where you can bind, always do that first. Always do that first, because otherwise you end up forgetting, and then it's like, oh wait, I died, or I'm returning. I can only go back to somewhere that's way, way off in the distance, and that trek all the way back.
Stand by for examination and suggested product.
Not fun.
You are fit for duty. Return to your post.
Now, they did a very good job of, I think Star Wars-y type architecture. This reminds me a little bit of Naboo, I guess. I don't know if that was intentional or not. But I like that, you can see this, and this looks very much different from, say, Alderaan. Alderaan has very distinct architecture, or Coruscant has very distinct, although, some parts of Coruscant look very much like parts of Nar Shaddaa, but they're both the planet-wide cities, so.
Padawan, I heard you've begun your trials. Master Orgus speaks very highly of you. No doubt you're pleased to have come this far. But some Jedi have the ability to do more, help more people. Interested?
Always looking for a way to help.
That's not what I said.
War is brewing in the greater galaxy. The Sith Empire plots against the Republic, and the Republic looks to the Jedi for aid. But not all who train to become Jedi are skilled combatants and leaders. Many are scholars, diplomats, strategists, and scientists.
Yeah,
Which is why we've created a simulation to test Jedi and Padawans and certify them to lead Republic troops.
If you're looking for a leader, you've come to the right person. Where do I start?
Confidence is good. A leader must have confidence in herself and others. Just don't get arrogant.
Yeah,
The droids here in the yard have been programmed to act according to Imperial military protocols and battlefield tactics. Demonstrate your proficiency at defeating these droids, and you will be on your way to qualifying to lead Republic troops into battle. Can you do it?
Whatever you say. Works for me.
Excellent. The first set of training droids are ready for you. Get to it.
Okay. Now to break the droids. Someone's already on that one. So... Can I do this one? No, this one's still on cooldown. Is there another one over here? I thought there was. Yes, there is. I don't know what they're doing to those poor bastards, but... Okay, let's start this up then. Bam. And you. Oh, it's not ready yet. Okay, well, dynamic entry. That's always important. Is if you're gonna be doing this stuff, you want to look good doing it. You know. I've seen. Well, I mean, I really like the customizable armor system in this. When you start getting orange armor, meaning you can take, even if you take like one of the first orange pieces you got, you can wear that all the way up to end game just by replacing the components in it and bringing it up to end game stats. And so you can really do a lot to customize your look. Because one of the things that always used to frustrate me about, your classic MMOs, is particularly Final Fantasy 11, because that's the one I played, was that you had basically deranged clown syndrome, where your optimal ideal loadout of gear would make you look like an idiot. Like for instance, in Final Fantasy 11, you would be wearing an optical hat, which was one of the most ridiculous hats ever of all time. You had no option to turn off your headgear either. You would be wearing a probably either a Habergian or a Scorpion harness and various other mismatched pieces of gear. Nothing would match. Nothing would be the same color. Nothing would look right together. And you would just generally look bad. And there were other games where it was even worse. I think the biggest... I remember lots of crying about WoW when the Burning Crusade came out and all these people had to trade in their nicely matched epic tier sets for deranged clown gear green drops they were getting off of the mobs as they were entering into Outland. Okay, so let's talk to this guy.
I'm impressed. Hopefully we'll have something more challenging for you soon.
I doubt it. Okay. Some experience, and off we go. And I think, yep. Okay, so this guy wants to talk to us. Tell us about the...
Peace unto you, friend. I bear word from the masters of the temple. Will you take a moment and hear my message?
I'm afraid I don't have time for long discussions.
I will endeavor to be brief. Your present mission is all important, but the masters want to make sure you do not miss what the temple has to offer. When you have time, see Master Mojida. He will guide you in the other skills of the Jedi.
Basically, in other words, the trainer. And that was basically, I think, just to make sure that you didn't miss that. Oh, call.
Padawan, I'm Satil Shan, leader of the Jedi Council. I'd like to speak privately with you before we meet with the others.
Have I done something wrong?
No, and don't worry, this will be an informal meeting. Come to my meditation room in the temple. We'll talk there.
Maybe not totally in character, but that was my first reaction. Was like, uh-oh, did I do something wrong? That is my main reaction whenever you have a boss lady or boss of any kind coming up to you and says, "Yeah, can I talk to you for a minute?" And it's like, oh crap, what did I do? Actually, let's go upstairs and talk to the guy. And it's completely irresponsible to use these indoors, so I'm going to do that. Sorry if I scorched your face off. Sure, you're a nice person. You can do wonders with skin grafts these days. And we're just going to talk to this guy. Normally he would have abilities, but I already trained mine up. So.
Using a lightsaber is just as much science as art. We can spar anytime.
Sure, whatever. Sword fighting, dude. Sword fighting with a with a weapon that is incredibly difficult to handle. I mean, people have actually gone through and figured out what it would be like to wield a lightsaber, and they say it would be incredibly hard because it's you're talking about a weapon where the blade has no mass, no weight, and also because of it's using incredibly strong magnetic fields and such, it would have resistance and gyroscopic effect and stuff, and it would just be very, very difficult to handle it, much less the stuff that you see Jedi doing. Which is why I think the justification is why you don't see non-Jedi using them, is that without the Force, you really can't effectively use a lightsaber. I guess you could, but you would never be as effective as you would be with a regular vibroblade. And the improvement in capability you get from a lightsaber would just not make it worth it, especially in this era, because in the era of the movies, there haven't been Sith around. People don't generally fight the Jedi, so there aren't a lot of anti-Jedi, anti-Force user countermeasures around. But in this era, lots of people use personal deflector generators. They weave cortosis into just about everything, and they basically are setting themselves up so that they can deal with Force users, because regardless of who you are or what side you're on, there's going to be at least one faction of Force users that wants you dead. So that's a very persuasive thing here. So I guess Jedi have greater numbers here, but they're not as unopposed as they are in the movieverse. Anyway, let's go take a look.
Welcome, Padawan. The temple is already buzzing with accounts of your heroism in the training grounds. Master Orgus told me you battled flesh raiders, and a Force user armed with a lightsaber. It must have been a disturbing confrontation. Are you all right?
Confidence.
I won the fight. What else matters?
Even the most experienced Jedi can be unbalanced by violence. Taking a life affects the living Force, and the one who does the killing. This is why Jedi enter battles calmly, with reason. Emotions like fear and anger lead to the dark side.
The man I fought wasn't angry or fearful.
Not on the surface, perhaps. As the Jedi Code teaches us, there is no emotion, there is peace. Remember those words when times are darkest.
Now that's...
And take this. The Code is a source of strength, but some backup never hurts. I'll see you soon in the Council Chambers.
That is one of the interesting things that they point out in this, is that I think BioWare is trying very hard to make things less black and white than they are in say the movies or whatever. It's basically indicated that the Jedi and the Sith sides of things are not as black and white as they would say. You run into noble Sith who are dedicated to the code, and they are Sith. They're not like misguided people who could be Jedi. They're Sith, but they still have their own nobility to them. And you have Jedi who are gone completely, who are completely off the rails. There was one that was really memorable for me. I was on my Sith. It was a mission on my Sith warrior, and I'll try and avoid spoilers. But part of the mission involved you were racing a Jedi Master to rescue his master, and this master had been buried on Hoth for decades. A ship had crashed, and he had apparently survived, but was buried in this cavern, and had survived by retreating into the Force so deeply that it basically provided his sustenance, so that he didn't starve to death. He spent decades that way, and this Jedi eventually made contact with him and raced to rescue him, and you were there to basically stop them because your master was a jerk. But you get there and you finally meet this guy, and the Jedi who's been buried, has decided that the reason why he's contacted his pupil now was because he was trying to bring his pupil there to bury him with him, so that he could commune with the Force the way that the old master had. So he was basically going to, regardless of what his wishes were, you're coming here, I'm going to bury you alive, and we're going to commune with the Force together for the rest of our lives, and, screw the galaxy and what else is going on. I don't care. The Republic could fall for all I care. He basically literally says, it's like, I really don't care about the Republic or, anyone else or what's going on here. We're just here to commune with the Force. And it was just such a dispassionate, disconnected thing. It's like, it was very cold, and yet he was utterly within the Jedi code, and it was just, well, maybe not the code, but he was not dark side. He was just, he had gone so far the other way. He's become so emotionless and so detached that that he wasn't human anymore. He wasn't. He just couldn't relate to anyone outside of himself, or his own situation. And I buried them alive, of course. That was the light side choice. Dark side choice was just to kill them dead. And if I had to do it again, I probably would have just taken the dark side choice, just because it's a horrible thing to bury the guy alive. But yeah, it's just sort of interesting that they try and show that there are people who stay within the precepts of their side, who just defy the expectations. Here we go. War object. Haven't spent a lot of time going through the codex. There we go. Pointer out of the way. I have to remember to turn that off. I do apologize for
I
this.
searched
am
the
new at
temple
this.
archives. This Force user leading the Flesh Raiders never received Jedi training.
Then the Sith have found us. Shouldn't we get ready for them?
Calm yourself, Padawan. We can't be certain of anything yet.
But we've all sensed a growing darkness. Perhaps it's finally revealed itself.
Your growing darkness just tried to kill me. See? It's not just me who's worried.
Everyone, this is the Padawan who saved our people in the training grounds. This is Master Kiwix and her extremely vocal Padawan, Kira. The other masters are transmitting from distant worlds.
It's unfortunate our numbers are scattered.
Indeed. The temple's safety is unexpectedly threatened. The Flesh Raiders were disorganized primitives before today.
I think you've been misinformed.
We clearly underestimated the natives. The man leading the Flesh Raiders probably wasn't acting alone.
Much of Tython remains unexplored, and we have few resources to spare.
I'll handle it with the help of my new Padawan.
Orgus, you haven't taken a Padawan since Coruscant.
The Force is strong in her. Stronger than I've seen in decades.
I can think of no finer master to complete this Padawan's training.
I'll complete my final trials once we've dealt with the Flesh Raiders.
That is what you should aspire to, Kira.
You'll find supplies in my chambers downstairs. Go equip yourself. I'll meet you there.
There we go. Okay, so that's a little bit better. Alright, I think I am going to cut this one short in a minute or two, because it is almost an hour long. Okay, so we're headed this way. I get lost easily. Real life, too. Okay. What do you mean by supplies? Is he going to give me a lightsaber? Do I get a
Blast
lightsaber?
those council
Do I get a lightsaber?
meetings. I'd die of old age before my colleagues ran out of things to say.
Seems talking is what they're best at.
Council members earn their seats after many victories and sacrifices. Respect that. This situation has
So I
come
just
to
agreed
you
with
fast.
you, and then you just
You're
slap me
braving
down.
dangers many Jedi never face. I wouldn't blame you for having questions. This may be the only time to ask them.
I get the impression you haven't had a Padawan for years. Why did you ask to train me?
As Jedi, you learn to trust your instincts. When I met you in that cave, my instincts told me that I was meant to train you. I don't know why or for what purpose, but the living force brought us together for a reason.
You think the Force is alive? That it wants something from us?
Want is too strong a word. Let's just say we'll accomplish more together than by ourselves. There's a group of Twi'lek pilgrims on Tython. They've been fighting the Flesh Raiders for months. The Republic asked us to deny those Twi'leks aid. They settled here illegally, but frankly, we need them.
The Republic shouldn't be telling the Jedi what to do.
Forgot how impressionable Padawans can be. Remember, Jedi exist to serve the Republic, even when we disagree. The Twi'leks have a settlement in the mountains. That's your next stop. Establish a base camp and speak to the Matriarch. Find out everything the Twi'leks know about Flesh Raiders.
Anything you can tell me about the Twi'lek leader?
Word is she's not our biggest fan. You may have to convince her otherwise. I'll join you soon. May the Force be with you.
I don't blame her. You're dealing with Flesh Raiders who have been who are able to make life difficult for Jedi, and these poor Twi'leks are against it all on their own, and basically being denied aid because they decided to settle here, and the Republic says no, you can't. It's kind of a scummy thing to do, and so that's if the supplies you gave me is a couple of hypos. Okay, whatever. That's what these games usually are about. It's like when you're later on, when you're well equipped, you're better equipped than most of the frontline guys. Then it's understandable because you're going out there, and they're like, yeah, you have better equipment than anything we get, But I mean, it's when it starts out, it's like here's some old rusty cans and a bit of string. Go out and save the world. Hey, this is a horrible situation, and we're in serious danger here. And, we have all this really highly advanced armor and weaponry here, but you can't have any of that because, you're too low level. Go out and save the world. It is a little bit ridiculous sometimes, but that's role-playing games for you. If you weren't out saving the world, it wouldn't be fun. Okay, so next up is the Twi'lek settlement. So I think I've got all the quests done here that I needed to do. I'm just going to get this as a lore point here, I believe. I think. No, it's a modification. Okay, that's not active yet. Later on, when you get your first lightsaber, this becomes a lore point, and basically it's here to teach you about modifying your lightsabers. I don't know, the only reason they have item modification stations is you click on that and you can modify an item. However, you can also modify an item by control right-clicking on it at any time, at any place. So these are kind of pointless, with the exception of these are the only places that you can install augment slots. But you don't get to augment, by the time you get to augment slots, you've stopped seeing these things. So maybe they had something else planned for this, or it was originally only going to be item modification stations, and it just turned out to be such a pain that they gave you a way to do it in the field. I'm not sure. One of those, most MMOs have these little things, these little like artifacts that don't really make sense in the current game world, and you always sort of wonder what their original intent was. Final Fantasy XIV was basically one gigantic one of those because the development team got sacked and changed right away. Anyway, so I'm going to end it here. Thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you all soon.